Drugi je Mirko.
The other one is Mirko. As I already stated, his part was related to estimate of tables, use of navigation device, GPS. It means it was one entirety, and those were two men who formed this platoon. The beginning of our combat actions is connected to them, tossing trunks and so forth.
Borbenih djelovanja, bacanja sanduka i tako dalje.
Sometime in October, we obtained an information from Vinkovci that there was a possibility of some supply or activities from air. We established a direct communication afterwards on the level of Đakovo, Vukovar, through package radio systems, and we agreed on modalities of future actions that could be executed in the area of Vukovar.
Budućih akcija koje bi se mogle izvesti na području Vukovara.
Željko Ražnatović Arka, da li se čujemo?
Situacija sve teža je svako.
The situation was progressively difficult. I communicated every day with the defense staff of the city, with the main medical staff, and I sent the essential supply for the hospital, blood, plasma, and medicines.
I onda postoji naznaka da će pomoć stići. Na koji način, kako, kroz taj pakao.
There was an indication that help would arrive. In what way? Through that hell of shells, it would arrive somehow, and it really arrived. I call those gifts from heaven.
Na jednom naši borci donose sanduke velike, vojne sanduke, koji su došli, nijotkud, došli su s neba.
Izbacivalo se sa transportnim padobranima.
The supplies were dropped with transportation parachutes. 4 or 5 trunks were carried. About a total of 1,000 kilograms of cargo with parachutes was dropped.
Mi nismo vrlo često našli ništa.
We often did not find anything we were informed about. For example, the information we got about one trunk that fell near a castle, several empty trunks were found in different places. It means that parachutes and empty trunks were already picked up. We were shocked when the first time people from the other side teased us and offered us the contents from the trunks. Hawk, people can have all they want. We will help them to have much more. Don't interrupt the conversation immediately when it becomes uncomfortable.
Prva pomoć je bila sanitetski materijal.
The first aid was medical supplies, blood, plasma and cigarettes that our fighters in Vukovar constantly requested from us to send them. There was no other possibility except packing into trunks. We packed evenly into each trunk a certain amount of blood types and a proportional amount of medical supplies types. We reckon that even if one trunk reaches them, it would contain a small amount of everything.
Vrsta sanitetskog materijala, tako da smo računali i ako jedan sanduk dođe među njih da ima od svačeg pomalo.
We received only 2 such trunks and many more were dropped. However, those 2 meant a great deal to us because we realized it could be done. When it is not possible to do anything, when a city is really killed, people are killed, it is still possible to provide help. Naturally, it meant a lot to us at that time. The problem was to open those parachutes that were thrown too high. However, we had here a shallow area only a couple of hundreds of meters from the river Dunav and a very inconvenient area for dropping. It means when a parachute would open at high altitude, then the upper winds would carry it towards uncontrolled directions. Unfortunately, most of the things did not fall into our hands.
Tu sam bio ja, bio je Mirko I Marko.
I was there, Mirko and Marko were also there. The 2 of them had not flown yet. It is perhaps interesting to mention that at that moment they underwent additional training for that type of aircraft during the first of those combat actions. It means that those 2 men needed courage to go on board of the airplane during night and to take off, and that a pilot did not even undergo training for that airplane. The group was expanded later on by a number of pilots, mechanists, experts for explosive, physicians who packed drugs for us, plasma and oxygen that we dropped over Vukovar.
Mi smo tražili da se onesposobljavaju pravci njihovog.
We requested to paralyze directions of their assault, or finally, if we had data about more significant concentration of their artillery positions or concentrations of tank units.
Mi smo isključivo, kažem i napominjem, kao vrlo bitno djelovali isključivo po vojnim objektima, po grupacijama.
He says we solely, and I emphasize as very important, acted only on military facilities, on army groupings, on their MLRS, because we had accurate data. We always received the data 1 day in advance, at least 1 day in advance. The data and coordinates, the exact coordinates of the place where the grouping was, some means of combat and similar. When I say coordinates, I think of geographical latitude and longitude. We had a device that was leading us, a GPS, an exceptionally precise device that enabled us in some way to be terribly precise in our combat actions.
Bez tog uređaja mi praktično ne bi ništa mogli napraviti. Kažem, još da je bilo u nabavi.
We practically could not do anything without that device. I also say that part of private capital was mainly invested procurement. Nobody from the army gave us practically anything officially. A couple of thousand of German marks was collected to buy a couple of GPSs. It works on the principle of coordinates, and all those navigation systems in aviation are solved through coordinates. By entering those coordinates of a certain target, one gets its position, a distance if you fly towards it, reel the airplane display speed, distances, and time you need to reach that place.
Stvarnu brzinu pokazuje avion, pokazuje kojim avion ide, udaljenost i vrijeme koje ti treba.
Mirko calculated the bomb's trajectory so that we had a table for speeds from 150 to 190 or 2000 kilometers per hour, and for attitudes of 2000, 2500 meters, that bomb was dropped.
2500 metara po kojima se bacala ta bomba.
Ta bomba je strašno odjeknula kao nijedna eksplozija u Vukovaru.
However, that bomb clanged terribly as no